I never understood the Stanley Cup craze until I went Stanley Cup crazy. The Stanley Cup craze has taken over the world, and I will now officially say, I get it. Hey my trash stars, it's me, Penny Angela. Welcome back to my channel. I'm just sitting here, you know, super hydrated with my Stanley. We're going to talk about the Stanley Cup. No, we're not talking about hockey. We are talking about the viral internet sensation, the Stanley tumbler. This cup has made people fight.
Stupid! Get him! Get him! Stop him! Stop him! Stop him! Stop him!
This cup has made people lose their minds. This cup has now become the symbol of peak consumerism. This is the cup that has taken over the world, showing America's and actually everyone's obsession with consumerism and collecting stuff. This cup is more than just a cup. It symbolizes hydration, wellness, and health. This cup has now become a fashion accessory for the clean girls, to the Pilates girly pops, to the suburban moms in Ohio. The Stanley Cup is everywhere. And to be honest, I now have a Stanley Cup, and I must admit, I'm obsessed. The Stanley Cup has now reached a whole new demographic, but it didn't always start that way. How did this over 110-year-old brand become the most popular drinkware brand in the world today? Well, if you want to find out why and how, keep on watching. Before we get into the now, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. William Stanley invented the steel vacuum-sealed cup in 1913. The concept of this cup was to be an essential part for blue-collar workdays. In doing my research on the Stanley brand, I found out that the original market demographic for the Stanley Cup were actually men. The Stanley Thermos was the chosen drinkware cup for blue-collar American men. Men that worked on construction sites or oil rigs. Men that were rugged and dirty. The manly man. The alpha. This was the cup of the alpha. The cup marketed itself as something that can withstand drops from a ladder or drops from a crane, working at the oil mines, anything of that nature, so that these manly, rough and rugged men could have a cup as tough as they are.
Stanley, the tough, all-steel thermos bottle that's completely dependable and built to take a pounding year after year. Get the tough one, because a thermos bottle means more to you than a picnic. It's some kind of tough thermos bottle.
Blue-collar men such as construction workers, working in the coal mines, World War II pilots. These are all jobs that were mainly, and not mainly, back then only, held by men. Wait, so how did a cup that branded itself to rough and rugged blue-collar American men become the leading drinkware brand amongst women? And the answer is the Buy Guide. The Buy Guide is an online shopping blog that started in 2017. Founded by Lindley Hutchinson, Ashley Lasser, and Taylor Cannon. These women fell in love with the first edition of the 40-ounce quencher. And mind you, this quencher differs from the current cup that we all know and love today. And that tumbler being the Quencher H2.0 flow state tumbler. The women of the Buy Guide made their second Instagram post about this cup, and they stated, out of all of the insulated cups, this is the one. The woman fell in love with the Stanley Cup, but the people over at Stanley, not so much. Not necessarily that they hated the cup, but they were focused on other things at the time and not this tumbler. As the quencher became harder to find and soon semi-discontinued, or basically just not a primary focus of the brand, that led the ladies of the Buy Guide trying to get in contact with the people over at Stanley. And at this point, they were met with little to no luck. They tried to get their followers to reach out to Stanley. They really wanted to champion for this cup. These women believed in this product. And you know what? Sometimes all it takes is someone believing in your vision. Doesn't take an army, it just takes one person. Or in Stanley's case, 3 women. The women at the Buy Guide wanted to be in contact with Stanley so this cup could be available in high quantities and so that their fans and audience of the blog can try this cup out for themselves. And with persistence, you get lucky. And luck is just when preparation meets opportunity. And they later got in contact with an employee over at Stanley. Mind you, at this time, Stanley did not offer any sort of influencer affiliate marketing at this time. So they came up with a different sort of deal. And that deal was to buy a boatload of cups wholesale, with the money coming out of ladies over at the Buy Guide wallets. And they agreed to this. The ladies over at the Buy Guide did a wholesale order of 10,000 cups that they paid for with their own money. And if all those cups that they bought didn't sell, they would find themselves in a financial pickle. Of course, I'm sure the ladies at the Buy Guide were freaking out and panicking. Fingers crossed that this works out, because they really believed in this product. You guys don't understand. To buy 10,000 cups wholesale, just so that you can sell them to your fan base, your demographic, what have you, because you believe in that product, that you know these people would love that product so much. That shows that you believe in something. That shows that that product, whatever that is special. There's things that I like, but if they were to be discontinued, let me tell you, I am not buying 10,000 wholesale versions of something because I think the whole world deserves to have one. I'm just gonna count my L respectfully. But luckily, the women over at the Buy Guide didn't have that fate of a bad financial decision, because in less than 5 or so days, they sold out of all the 10,000 cups. So obviously, the 10,000 cups selling in such a short period of time, this caught the attention of the people over at Stanley. They saw the opportunity and potential in this cup, with the new focus on hydration, hence the word the quencher in the tumbler title. The women at the Buy Guide later met up with Stanley representatives to discuss the future of the brand and ways to make this product move better, look better, feel better. And these girl bosses had no issues telling the people over at Stanley that, yeah, you have it all wrong. If they changed their primary focus from rough, rugged American masculine men to focusing on women, to change the aesthetics of the cup from a blue-collar American thermos cup or something used for the occasional outdoorsy activity like hiking or camping into something used every day, a lifestyle product, something that you have while you're filming a YouTube, something that you have at your desk at work, something you bring with you on your commute, something that you bring to the gym, something that you use when you're eating dinner or just watching a movie, an everyday essential product, sort of like your cell phone, but something that keeps you hydrated, because water is what our bodies are made of. Water is life. Stanley Cup is a part of your life. And the ladies over at the Buy Guide knew that once you market to women, you're basically marketing to everyone. Because women, we hold down the consumer forefront. We buy products not only for ourselves, but for our husbands, but for our friends, family. We're giving gifts to teachers. We're giving gifts to our coworkers. Most brands' focus is to attract women because we love shopping. We're known for doing the hauls, and I know this may sound very stereotypical. When it comes to the idea of shopping and being a consumer, let's face it, we usually think of the female buyer. I forgot her name, but she was a contestant on, I believe, The Bachelor or Bachelorette, one of those shows. I'll leave it somewhere in this video. The ladies over at the Buy Guide gifted her a Stanley. Then she posted that Stanley on her Instagram stories, and that also helped this Stanley tsunami whirlwind become the force that it is today. The buy guide helped Stanley with their rebrand and led Stanley into a very lucrative and beneficial affiliate marketing program. Stanley changed their logo by now adding Stan the bear, I believe that's his name, Stan the bear that is seen on all current Stanley products. They also changed the anatomy of the handle, the ergonomics if you will, and offering more colorways that kind of attract women. The beautiful pastels, the pinks, the baby blues, making this cup something that matches each and every one of your outfits. Oh, and I forgot to add, the son of Stanley is Morgan Stanley, as in, you know, that big financial institution, the banking people. I'm such a dit, but you know, Morgan Stanley, that's the son of Stanley. Like, the more you're friggin' know. So why are people fighting over these cups? And I mean fighting over these cups. Stanley has a really good schedule when it comes to releases. Drops are frequent, but not too frequent where you feel like you're not getting something that's rare. Just like sneakerheads waiting for the new Nikes or the new Supreme drop, Stanley does something similar for its consumers. And let's face it, sure, some of you may think collecting cups is a really silly idea, but trust me, I have so many cups. I collect glassware. I have a lot of old Starbucks tumblers. I have so many Starbucks cups. I like collecting cups. So to me, seeing people collect Stanleys, not that weird to me, you know, like people like to collect physical products, collecting vinyl, collecting books, collecting cassettes, collecting DVDs. We like to collect stuff. Can you watch all those movies at the same time? No. You can only watch one movie at a time. You can only use one cup at a time, but that doesn't stop people from wanting even more of the same product. And quite frankly, I don't really think it's that weird. Sure, am I gonna buy 50 different $50 or so tumblers? Likely no. This was gifted to me by a coworker, so I'm very happy that my first Stanley was free. Humans have always held collections. From collecting physical media like vinyl records or CDs, DVDs or books, or even handbags. So honestly, collecting a Stanley isn't much different to me than collecting purses. And Stanley has now become the drinkware cool kid table. Having a Stanley cup is like being able to sit with the plastics at lunch. On Wednesdays we wear pink, but every day we drink out of our Stanley. And as I said earlier, this cup is not only a cup. This cup has become a status symbol, a fashion accessory, a cup that symbolizes that you care about your health, that you are on the road to wellness, that you don't play when it comes to being hydrated. The cup is functional for everyday use. It has a wide array of colors. Collectors can have a Stanley cup every day for a whole month or the whole year to match every single outfit. I'm sure there's someone that probably has a Stanley cup for each day of the year. There has to be someone out there. And if you're not familiar with the concept of hate watching, which is basically when someone watches a show, influencer or content creator, a YouTuber that they hate, but they still watch and consume their content just because, well, that's also with the Stanley Cup. People may find this cup cringe, but they're still talking about this cup. If you don't have a Stanley, you're likely curious about one. You want to know, hey, does this $45 cup really work? Does it really hold ice? Oh, I bet it's overrated. But you know, if someone gifted me one, like me, I'll give it a shot. And now look, I'm making a whole YouTube video about Stanley because I did such a deep dive on this company. I have become so obsessed with Stanley since getting this cup. I don't know what they put in this. Is it the lead? We all don't like the fear of missing out. And we all want to avoid the fear of missing out. And I also feel that's why Stanley is as big as it is today. You're going to be curious about this cup. If people are fighting for a cup, you too soon in some way become curious about this cup. If you don't have one, you're gonna want to touch your friends. Oh, can I fill your cup? How is this cup? You're curious about this cup. Not only are these cups aesthetically pleasing, they are also well made. The cups keep your drinks cold for a really long and extended period of time. I believe it can keep a drink cold for like 24 hours or more and can hold ice for over 12 hours. I will say it does that. You have to put a lot of ice in your Stanley for it to hold, for it not to melt. Like if you put in 1 or 2 ice cubes, yeah, it's going to melt. Once you fill your Stanley with a good amount of ice, I will say that the ice will be in there for a good minute, and it does keep your drinks rather cold. And not only does it keep your drink cold, it also fits perfectly in a cup holder. Again, those everyday functionality qualities of this cup is why this cup is just so popular. It is now, as I said, a part of your everyday. Now when I leave, it's like, let me get my keys, make sure I have my wallet, my cell phone. Oh, and make sure I have my Stanley, because I used to always carry plastic water bottles on me all the time. Now I'm like, what's the point of carrying a plastic water bottle, having like 5 bottles in my bag, when I can just pour them all into one cup, and it's going to keep my water whatever temperature I wanted it to be at. Room temp is going to stay room temp. If it's cold, it's going to stay cold. Mwah, chef's kiss. Mwah, icy water. And if we're going to talk about Stanley, we have to talk about the Valentine's Day Stanley drop and the Starbucks Stanley Cup. These drops have had people in a frenzy. The Valentine's Day Stanley Cup that was pretty bad and kind of cringe and embarrassing, but that was nothing compared to the Starbucks Stanley release.
You're a fucking loser.
Get him! Stupid! Get him! Stop him! Stop him! Stop him! Stop him! Yeah, stop him! I didn't touch him. I didn't touch him. Stop him! Stop her! Stop her! Somebody, she tried to grab my back.
I can honestly say I don't remember an item causing this much of a frenzy since I was a kid and parents were trying to buy their kids Tickle Me Elmo dolls or Beanie Babies. While all of the things I mentioned prior of course helped Stanley increase their revenue, what kept this cup in the world of viral cups for such a long time is because of this one TikTok. TikTok user Danny Marie Lettering posted a video of her car that went on fire a day before she posted this video.
Everybody's so concerned about if the Stanley spills, but what about if it melts? It was in a fire yesterday. It still has ice in it.
Commenters began to tag the CEO of Stanley and tell Stanley, buy this girl a new cup. Give this girl a sponsorship. Sponsor this girl. Hey Stanley, have you seen this video? Everyone was tagging Stanley to see this video. Like, holy shiz, like, this is insane. The comments were saying, wow, that makes me want to get a Stanley Cup. Hello, sign me up for the cup. That cup can still hold ice. Stanley needs to start making cars because everything else blew up besides the damn cup. This caught the attention of the president over at Stanley. So of course we all were hoping and telling Stanley, sponsor her, give her a brand deal, give her a lifetime supply of 40-ounce tumblers. But the president over at Stanley did more than just give her a few cups. He responded in a stitch on TikTok saying that this is something he likely would never do again, but he's going to give her a few tumblers. Okay, cool, that's what we wanted, but he's also going to buy her a new car.
We're glad you're safe. I've seen a lot of comments that we should send you some Stanleys. Well, we're gonna send you some Stanleys. But there's one more thing. We've never done this before, and we'll probably never do it again, but we'd love to replace your vehicle. Yeah, all of us at Stanley, we'd really like to replace your vehicle. So check your DMs for details. Thanks, be safe, cheers.
This stitch made people that didn't understand the Stanley hype want to go out and purchase a Stanley Cup. They saw this company as a generous company, a nice company, a company that cares. Whatever price they paid on her new Mazda was nothing compared to the amount of revenue that Stanley made from buying her a new car. And in that video, he did say, this will probably be our one and only time doing this, because since then I have seen so many videos on TikTok of people saying their cars went on fire and their Stanley is the only thing that withstood the fire. In some of these videos, you can tell it was placed in the car. You know, like you can tell someone like just put a fresh Stanley from their kitchen in their car. People are trying to scam. So he was very smart to say this will be our one and likely only time ever doing this. But that sort of generosity and kindness and support to the consumer is what consumers want to see when making the decision to purchase from a brand. They want to see that connection between the company and the consumer. They want to see that the brand actually cares about the consumer. And Stanley did just that. So is it over? Is the Stanley craze over? Are people over the Stanley Cup? Will Stanley Cup meet the fate of tumblers past, like the hydroflask or whatever cups the Visco girls were drinking? Was that the hydroflask? The Yeti. There has been so many other tumblers, so I'm sure you're thinking, well, Stanley, they're no exception to the rule. Maybe they're not an exception to the rule, but not anytime soon will they meet that fate. And here's why I think so. There has always been trendy drinkware, but none of them has reached A-list status like the Stanley Cup. Olivia Rodrigo loves her Stanley. Your favorite influencer loves her Stanley. The Stanley Cup has reached peak consumerism. People can now buy accessories for their Stanley. So they don't have to hold the Stanley. They can buy straw toppers. They can decorate their Stanley. There's snack trays for your Stanley that honestly I'm kind of intrigued about, and it makes me want a snack tray for my Stanley. In 4 years, Stanley's revenue went from 73 million, which is a very comfortable number, to a whopping $730 million at the end of 2023. That is such a huge increase in revenue in actually such a short period of time. My only concern about the fate of Stanley is that now it's not just younger people wanting the cup. There are high schoolers that want Stanleys for Christmas or their birthdays, even people as young as kids in elementary school. And it's not the fact that millennial, Utah, Ohio, Midwest mothers like the Stanley. The boomers are also starting to get into it. You have the boomers and Gen Xers getting into Stanley. No offense to the boomers and the Gen Xers, love y'all. But let's be real. Once an older audience starts liking something, that's when it becomes uncool with the cool kids. The main market is the tween to women to age 40-45, right? Like those are the peak consumer demographics. If you can lock them in, especially at such a young age, you're going to have likely a faithful consumer. But now that Stanley is being held by the boomers, are the cool kids gonna want a cup that your grandma may have? Who knows? Who knows? Only time will tell. As for me, I am obsessed with my Stanley. So for me, I don't care if the trend leaves, I'm still going to be drinking out of my Stanley. In fact, I want to buy a Stanley. Since I didn't pay for this one, I want to make my own first Stanley purchase soon. The Stanley story is such a great classic American dream story. To me, it really symbolizes how you can make one tiny change in your daily routine, one tiny change in your branding, for me, even as a content creator, can change the trajectory of your entire life and brand. Had the Stanley Cup not taken the advice of the woman over at the Buy Guide to make the cups appeal to a more feminine market instead of being so stuck to their guns and being like,
well, no, this cup is for the man. We're only doing for the men. Blah, 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 blah. Your girly shiz away from me. I'm a man. This is America, baby.
If they did all that, they wouldn't have made $730 million. So you know what I mean? Like, it took one little thing by changing the logo, adding the Stanley mascot, offering the beautiful pastel colors and the girly colors, changing the handle, things when you think about it. It now has me in this mind frame of, Is there something I can do with my YouTube and my new detail that could probably change the trajectory of my YouTube career? Are there old videos right now that if I just change the title, would that change how many views it gets? I am just so inspired by the Stanley brand. At first, before all of this, I thought, oh my God, this cup is so basic. Why are people obsessed with the cup? And now that I have the Stanley, I will say, this cup did change my life, y'all. Like, not only am I drinking more water, my body is functioning better now. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like my body is functioning better since I started drinking out of this cup every day. Because also, when something's an investment, you're likely to remember it. If I spent $45 on a cup, I'm not going to not use it. For me personally, if I bought this cup because I'm not good with remembering to take my daily water intake, spending $45 in a cup is surely going to make me remember. But if I spent $10 on this cup, am I going to remember to bring this with me all the time? Probably not, because I'm like, it's only $10. Even though this was a gift, this is just so iconic. I have to bring this with me everywhere. Of course, there are more Stanley drops rumored for this year. There's a new blue Starbucks Stanley Cup that I saw that may be coming out soon. It's not as pretty as the pink one, but I'm sure that cup is going to do numbers. There are some neon designs I'm hearing coming out. That's my thought on the Stanley Cup. I'm in love with the company. I did such a deep dive. I have fixations. I did such a deep dive on the Stanley Company, hence this presentation, hence this video. This is not like my usual content, but I feel like I had to get this word out there. People over at Stanley, do y'all want to hire me? Like, I would love to work for Stanley. I would love to be sponsored by Stanley. If you guys sent me a cup, like, oh my gosh. If the people at Stanley are watching, can you guys make the flip straw tumbler look identical to the 40-ounce handle H2.0 quencher tumbler? Because the 40 ounce of the flip straw looks nothing like this. Like, I just want it to be this exact cup for 40 ounces, like the 40-ounce quencher. You know what? Please do that, because when I tell you, this is my favorite Stanley model because it has the lid like this, and this is leak proof. I can put this in my purse and nothing's gonna happen. I love my Stanley. I love my Stanley. So that's the end of this video, my little trash stars. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments, do you have a Stanley? Did this video make you change your idea of the Stanley, or do you not care about the hype and you're not going to spend $35+ on a freaking cup? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I love you, my little trash stars, and I will see you in my next video. Mwah! Bye.